Hello everybody, this is CJ Wiley. I'm out here on another hike. I was looking at this, the video I did yesterday from a different angle. I pointed to where I was going to hike yesterday, and you know, the higher you get, the better perspective you have. Again, that's in life. The game is a teacher. The higher level you get at pool, the more you'll understand things, other things that you're interested in. Because it just cuts through all the BS, you know. People can be hustled so easily when they don't cross-examine what they're being told. And these days, man, when somebody reads the science says, or experts say, or doctors say, they just black out and believe. Imagine if it was like, well, pool hustlers say. You might as well. What I replace that with is the mind control experts say this is what you should think. That's my mind just automatically reframes it. Because if they come up with that stuff with me, man, I'm not alone here. You know, I know there's people watching. You know, leave a comment if you know what I'm saying. That anytime they make these ridiculous claims, I mean, I've got the algorithms trained so that I get their propaganda every day, and I mean, it is so ridiculous. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm like, are there people really out there that believe this stuff? I mean, it's just all science fiction and has no base in reality. See, there's no the science. There's the scientific method, you know. You have a hypothesis, which is more just like your imagination, like Einsteinian, right? No, whatever, a light beam across the universe and all that. I used to hear this when I was a kid, and it was like, that's just really, really strange. But, you know, everybody believed it, so I did too. I mean, but I didn't really think about it. I mean, now that I'm an adult and I've got a lot of street experience and experience with hustlers, I'm like, man, that's what stoners say. And they don't even go that far. I've never heard anybody on drugs say they were riding a light beam across the universe and came up with these extravagant, extraordinary theories of how the world works. Anyway, you know, if you believe that, go with it. You know, I'm not trying, it's funny to me, you know. Just like, you know, if somebody goes in a pool room and they believe the pool hustlers, they're going to learn an important lesson at some point, or not. And if they don't, they're going to lose all their money. Man, this is the same thing. There's going to be a point where if you keep believing this stuff, this nonsense, there's going to be a point where maybe you don't lose your money, because that's not, money is an enabler. But like with me, it gives options. And it's an essential tool. But stockpiling money is like stockpiling Snickers bars after a while. It's like, how much sugar do you need? You know, I mean, it's cool to live a comfortable life and have toys and everything. That's cool. I've been through that. It was fun. I had a Dodge Stealth in 1992. Looked like a spaceship. And then I had a Mitsubishi 3000 and a Jaguar, and a CL55 Mercedes was probably my nicest car. That ended up getting stolen in a really unusual way. I still have some theories about that I can't prove scientifically. But yeah, you know, I may tell some of these stories. I got a lot of stories that I don't tell just simply because I think few people would believe me, you know, and I don't want to tell the truth and get accused of being a liar, because I don't lie. You know, I may be wrong about some things, but I'm not lying. And I respect that in any man, you know. We all should have our own opinions, you know, and chastising somebody because they don't believe what you believe, I think that's just robbing yourself of potential wisdom. Man, I've learned some really cool stuff off people that really aren't that smart, but they're really wise. See, there's a difference. smartness is like wokeness. It's like, we misuse that word almost, because in the pool world, we call guys that are, that understand how to match up games really well, we call them smarts. They are smarts. It's like a group of them that are really brilliant at matching up pool games. And, dice propositions, and they may play poker really well or something. But in other areas of their life, they're, clueless. I want to be well-rounded. Anyway, where I was yesterday, we're going to look at from a different perspective. I'm going to show you in a physical, example of what another perspective looks like. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you the physical example of what I'm talking about mentally, okay? So here's the wall that I was at. I'm going to start out where I first showed you the wall. See, that's the dam over there that I was talking about. I was standing right up over there. This is the lake. This is the wall that I was walking on the top of. And then down there, that's where I climbed down to get down to show you another perspective. And then I panned up here and said I was going to come up here, which I did yesterday, but I didn't film this yesterday. I came back today because I've got some really cool stuff going on in my mind, and this is how I process my thoughts, being outside. But you can see, and like I said, I have seen this before when the water was coming over that. There again, it's not really a dam because the water does go over it. It's just, I don't even know what the word is. I'm sure somebody out there knows. A levee, or I don't know. But anyway, the water does go over there. I would think a real dam wouldn't allow that. But again, you can see it goes all the way down. And you can see the rock formations over there. The only thing that I was, and I don't think this is, it's true in this case, but I've seen it in other, video producers that follow these ancient ruins. And, a lot of times there's buildings under the area that you can see. And they've used a lot of golf courses to cover that up. Like the ones in California, like Spyglass and Pebble Beach. Those have ancient ruins under them. They've used those golf courses to cover them up and keep people from exploring there, because you can't go dig up their golf course, right? But you can see it. Sometimes it'll erode, and people will get pictures, and you'll see that there's these immaculate buildings underneath what we can see, and it's all over the world. It's amazing when you really start to... John Levy, or Levy, L-E-V-Y, J-O-N-L-E-V-Y, has a lot of videos on this subject. He's a real cool guy, real humble, he lives off-grid, and is brilliant when it comes to this stuff. He studied it all his life. So I'll go back down here. I was just thinking, where did I develop this yearning to be outside, and what developed me? Because again, I've got my share of challenges, but I also have some gifts, and those gifts, a lot of them came from here's another little perspective. Those gifts were developed a lot by my mother, and the way she did it was when I was very young. She read to me every night. Advanced books, not children's books. I mean, I did that too when I was really young. I mean, I was reading myself when I was like 3 years old, so she just really thought it was important for me to be able to read and write and develop, my mathematical skills. I always tested in the top 1% in the country on every single math test I've ever done in school, and I was in the top 3% in English literature. They had 2 different parts. I think I've caught that part up maybe, but pool's mostly mathematical. It's the physics, geometry of spheres. And physics is the law of objects in motion. So I used to talk to this physics professor that came in my place, Carson's Palace. We were like the #1 happy hour place in Dallas for a while. And SMU is there, Southern Methodist University. And this lady used to come in, really nice and funny, but she was a physics professor. And I'd sit there with her during happy hour for, 20 or 30 minutes at a time and talk to her. And I wanted to hear about, physics and stuff from her perception, That's how I've learned a lot, is just talking to people that are really good at what they do. So one day I was like, man, I wish I could understand physics on your level. And she looked at me and she said, oh, you understand it better. I was like, yeah, right. She says, well, I understand the structure and the formulas and, putting it on paper. She said, but you live it. You know where those pool balls are going no matter what, like 2 or 3 at a time, don't you? I said, yeah. I said, I can tell. If somebody hits 3 balls, I can tell pretty much where they're going to land, without, when they're halfway through, where they're going. So, and I can see that from quite a ways away. Like, it's just a gift, but it's a gift that was developed. And if you're a parent and you want to develop your child, I would highly recommend reading to them every night. My mother read Tarzan books by Edgar Rice Burroughs, and these were like 3-inch thick books, and they were the originals. They were made in like 1892 or something, and I wish I still had them. And Bomba the Jungle Boy, but she read several of the Tarzan series, and they were adult books. I remember they would get into details on Tarzan killing these animals and cleaning them, cutting them up with his knife, and just real, detailed stuff. And as a child, it wasn't about just dressing animals, but it got into what he was thinking when he was outside and swinging through the forest. And I just have a real fond memory of that. And I was like 2 or 3 years old or 4 years old. I can't remember. She did it for a number of years. And then when I got in the first, kindergarten class, I was like pretty advanced. I would say I was on probably a 3rd grade level in kindergarten with my reading skills and mathematical skills, which just gives you a big head start in life. And school was so easy for me, it just got boring. And then later, I wasn't interested in what they were teaching me. Now looking back, a lot of what they were teaching, not only was I not going to use, but wasn't even true. It was just, it was models, it was theories that have never been proven. But they're models. So you can take a model that's not true and utilize it successfully, like electricity. Like, they don't know really what electricity is. Nobody's seen an electron. The protons and neutrons, and it's a model of how electricity works. But if you talk to somebody that understands that at a high level, like I've read some books by guys that are absolute experts, and their whole family was, and they'll admit nobody's ever seen that stuff, but they can tell, they can measure it, they can see what it does, they can utilize it as well as they possibly can without really knowing what it is. So that's fascinating, actually. But I think that's where I got my yearning to be outside. If all things crash down, I can survive outside. I've had training by Lieutenant Colonel Bo Greitz was one of my teachers. He was the highest decorated man from the Vietnam era. They patterned Rambo and the Delta Force movies after him. And he had Dr. Death. They were Black Ops Special Forces guys, and they would go into the Golden Triangle, for instance, and he made a deal with Mang Tai, who was the highest level heroin dealer in the world, and Bo Greitz went in there and made a deal with him to stop the exportation. And he said he would, if the government gave him $20 million a year, he would stop producing and exporting it. And when Bo Greitz came back and showed it to the president at the time, I'm not going to mention some of these names. They're in books, though. You can find the books. Lieutenant Colonel Bo Greitz, Gritz. And anyway, I don't want to get into all that. I probably shouldn't, but it's in the book. But I learned from him and a guy named the Dr. Death. He was a CIA guy and basically knew how to torture people and get information. And then there was another guy that was a special ops, and his specialty was outdoor survival. So we got to learn, stuff about nature and telling directions without a compass. And I got a kubaton from Bo Greitz, which is a Japanese martial arts weapon, and I've still got the original, but I actually put it away. I got it in my car, but I bought another one just because I didn't want a chance losing that one. But it's kind of like a brass knuckles, and it's got, it comes out of your hand, where somebody that's trained like I am, it's brutally dangerous. And I got approached by a guy that looked like he was on some heavy drugs in a parking lot. And when I'm going to my car, I carry it's what I attach to my keys. So I've automatically got it in my hand. So when he came towards me, I don't know what he was going to do, but his eyes didn't, look like he was possessed. But I turned that around and just showed it to him. And he stopped and backed up and said, "Whoa, man, I'm all right." I said, "I know you're all right." I said, "But you're not going to come any closer." And he just, he turned around and left, I don't know if he was up to anything. I don't know. I don't want to know. But he knew there was easier action. It's just like on the road playing pool. There's certain guys that play at a level that, there's easier action. Like, we've said that many times. But anyway, like I said, I just wanted to share some of these thoughts not pertaining to Shoot or Dare. Again, the game Shoot or Dare is what I'm really focused on. It is the game, and the game is the teacher. So go to shootordare.com. If you want to know my physical fundamental systems and techniques, you can go to masteringpocketbilliards.com and cjwiley.com. You can be a private member, and I'd appreciate your support. It's like $9.95 a month or $8 if you get like a quarterly thing, but I've got thousands of dollars worth of information on there, and it just helps me to pursue some of this stuff, because I'm not making any money. I haven't got any like Shoot or Dare t-shirts or glasses or anything like that, even though we will. I mean, I want to give my friends, family, and people that have been following me on YouTube and Facebook, and I've answered all your questions. Nobody can say they ever sent me a question I didn't answer. So now I'm just asking, to give me a little support, and the value that I give on that website is much more than $10 a month or whatever. When I was selling DVDs, or go back to the VHS, some of them, my Ultimate Pool Secrets was a VHS thing. It was a 3-part series, and we were selling each one for $29.95. So that was about $90, maybe even been taxed. So it was like $100 just for that. And on the website, that's just a small portion. That's just 10% of what's on there. I've got the Touch of Inside stuff, and how to, the banking stuff that's super strong for one pocket, and the stroke development stuff, and my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, and like this video if you can, leave a comment, and I'll answer all your questions. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed, but I generally do it within 24 hours. But especially on YouTube, sometimes I don't get those notifications, and I don't want them. I get so many notifications for this other stuff that I'm doing. Yeah, I just I just go to it like every day or two, and sometimes if I'm in the middle of another project, it might be 3 or 4 days. But this is my path. Came from down there, and this is where I turn to go down. Now I'm almost to the bottom of what I showed you from up there. It's getting cool now, man. It's really nice. So anyway, I'll leave you with that. Like I said, you know, I credit a lot of where I am now to my mother. You know, not only did she read to me, but just she treated me like an adult when I was really young. And see, I always had like a sixth sense, like an intuition, like I believed in Santa Claus like a week before. You know, she didn't try to keep that stuff from me. You know, I don't think it's good to lie to kids. You know, the Santa Claus thing, man, I didn't like Christmas because I could tell they were lying to me, and I'd throw my presents. Like I didn't like them. I didn't like the situation because for some reason I've always had a sixth sense, or a seventh sense maybe, for lies and deception. You know, we all have our gifts, but that's what led to me being, you know, one of the best or highest rated pool hustlers. But, you know, I'm honest about my background, and you know, I lived kind of another life back then, and I've went completely full circle. So that's why the truth is so important to me to share. Because like I said, I might be wrong, but I'm not lying. Anyway, this is CJ. The game is the teacher. Talk with you soon.